Brake Check. I'm your host Brian, and today we're driving a 2019 Infiniti Q60. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We hope you enjoy. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that good stuff that people need on YouTube nowadays. We know a lot of our viewers like to watch without subscribing, so do us a favor, subscribe. It helps us out a lot. So what is the Q60? The Q60 is a sports coupe in premium trim. It's for the person who wants the image of a coupe, but doesn't want the beat up of a Corvette or something more hardcore like that. It is a 2+2 configuration. You can fit small humans, excluding myself, in the back seat. And part of the reason why is it's based on the G37 sedan, or the four-door of this, the Q50 of this. So it still has a long wheelbase. There's plenty of legroom for front and rear occupants. Now, where you do lose some in comfort is due to the nice, clean, sexy shape of this car, is the roof line is a little bit lower. So what does this compete with? The first thing that comes to mind to me is a 4 Series BMW. Now, is this a BMW killer? No, it's not. Is it priced like a BMW? No, it's not. So why would you shop this instead of a 4 Series? Well, if you are a little bit gun shy of German maintenance or things like that that concern you about German cars, then this is a really good alternative. This uses a lot of Nissan running gear underneath it, which is tried and true. It seems to be working pretty well. It is based on a coupe that we all love, the G37, which is the evolution of the G35, which, if you look back into the early 2000s, set the bar on two-door styling. I still think today that's a timeless design. It looks great. I actually think it looks a little bit better than this one. This looks a lot more modern and is as comparable as it can be to that. So Infiniti really put a lot of effort there. Squirrel, watch out, squirrel! Hey, good news, the brakes are great on this, just so you know. Is it fast? Let's try sport mode. One way to find out. Spinning in first, went to second first, and 60. Yeah, I'd say it's quick. This is a 3-liter twin-turbo V6, and what makes it special is that this is the groundwork for the next Z Nissan. So the Z400, as they're calling it, as the rumors are saying, will use a version of this engine, which is really exciting because it's good. This is paired with the 7-speed auto from Nissan. Same transmission you find in the pickup trucks, the Titans. Now the Frontier has this transmission as well. I don't think it's anything to write home about, but I don't think it has any faults either. I do find the shift pattern management is better than most of the 10-speed Fords and GMs I've driven. There's just less gears to hunt around with. It just seems more natural. Let's talk design for a minute. This car is striking. I don't care if you like the styling or not. Styling is very subjective. And to be honest with you, the styling of this coupe is not something I would think is, it's not Aston Martin by any means, right? But for the price point, it's not ugly at all, and it really does catch your eye. It's a very striking design, very clean. My favorite part of the exterior is that there's this body line from the front fender all over the back, and I'm just a fan of that when they make a cohesive beginning and end with the headlight and taillight. They did a really good job on that. The interior is really where I think this thing shines. This car is matched with the white or the cream interior, which, man, it looks great. This is the only way I would want this car, is with this interior. Unfortunately for 2019, you can no longer get the Infiniti Coupe with a manual like you could in the G37, which is a real shame because the chassis is really good. I think that it's underappreciated in a lot of ways. Everyone thinks about the 350Z, the 370Z, which are all great as well, but they share a lot. This just has a little more wheelbase. It just means it rides a little bit better for that daily drive. Throttle inputs do change with the different drive modes. So if you go to Eco or you go to Snow mode, it kind of just numbs everything out. Something unique about this car is it does have steer-by-wire. And what that means is that the steering inputs from the wheel are completely digitally interpreted and then turned at the steering rack. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a fan of it. It's about as numb as they can be. There's zero feedback at all, but most new steering racks don't give you feedback anyway, so that's not a huge mark against it. Ironically enough, though, since this is the first of its kind, there is still a steering shaft attached to the wheel down to the steering rack. If power is lost in the vehicle somehow, that rack is then engaged so you can physically steer the car and get off the road if something happens, which I think is really quite interesting. The tech has been used to eliminate moving parts and to become more efficient, and yet the old parts are still there in the first iteration. This roofline issue that is probably my least favorite part of the car is the roofline. I'm just a tall guy, and this is challenging for me. The A5 has the same problem. The BMW 4 Series isn't quite as bad, has a little more adjustability in the seat, but they all kind of have that issue. It's just part of the styling. How's the handling? It's pretty good. Shock damping, my favorite thing to talk about. It's not as sharp as some other cars, but for the intended audience of this car, I think they nailed it. I think it rides really good. I'm over some choppy pavement right now, and I'm not going to spill any coffee driving this car, which is really a good test. But it also has pretty sharp steering turn-in, and it handles quite flat. Imagine this with a good manual. I think it'd be a fun car. This engine is a 3-liter twin turbo. It's rated at around 300 horsepower in torque, right around there, give or take. And oddly enough, it feels a lot more than that because of the way the turbos just deliver the power. Very linear. It revs about 6.5. It doesn't want to go any more than that, but it doesn't need to. The downside is that it sounds very synthetic. And a lot of new cars are doing this. It's not specific to this car, but the piped-in sound sounds kind of odd. It sounds kind of like a Renault piped-in sound. This engine is not based on the previous VQ V6, which is a shame. That V6 is really kind of quirky and neat. I say it's a shame. This is a much better package, no question about it, but the piped-in sounds quite annoying. I really wish they would just find a way to pipe in the turbo sounds, because that would really make this a lot more fun. Has a sunroof, has all the goodies up here, which is nice. Has an actual sunshade, unlike some Audis that just let the sun come through no matter what, so that's nice. The leather feels really nice. The lateral support of the seats are good. The seats are comfortable. They're not overly supportive. They're not Recaros. They're not track seats. But you know what? That's okay. They don't need to be. They're very comfortable. You can cover a lot of distance on this and not feel like you're paying a penalty to do so. So who is this car for? This is for the couple that is established in life. They're not looking for the fastest thing out there, but they want to go to dinner and feel luxurious and feel like they've arrived. And that's what this car really does. And it does it for good value. The G35, G37, and now Q60 has always been the value option in this segment with very little sacrifice. They've never driven poorly. Now, something I want to bring up, people criticize the Q60 for not being as much of a driver's car as the BMW 4 Series Coupe or the A5. Because this is squarely aimed at the BMW 3 Series, 4 Series. When the G35 came out, no qualms about it, it was aiming at the 3 Series BMW. This does not hit that mark, but let me tell you something else. Neither does the 4 Series. The current 4 Series drives nothing like, or 3 Series, drives nothing like the previous 3 Series ultimate driving machine that we're all talking about. So it drives me nuts when people criticize this car for not being a good 3 Series. Because guess what? The 3 Series is not a good 3 Series. So take that argument out and throw it away. Something I want to praise Infiniti on is having really good service. This is something that a lot of manufacturers struggle with. Lexus does not have this problem. Infiniti does not have this problem. Some American manufacturers do have this problem. So if you were to buy this car and have to go in for warranty work, you can just rest assured you're going to get taken care of well. That's the benefit of Infiniti dealers. I haven't run into one. I've talked to a lot of owners that have had them and had issues over the years, mechanically, just recalls, things like that. And they've always been taken care of well at the Infiniti dealer experience. That matters when you're buying something that's new. That does count for something. So all in all, what's my favorite part about this car? The interior. I think the layout of the interior is good. I like the design of the door handles. They feel like they've been thought out while they're there. The cup holders are functional. Everything just checks a lot of boxes. For a coupe of this sort, I think it's a really good choice. What's my least favorite part? I'd have to say the steering. The steering is just numb. It's just not there. Not to say that it won't get there, but not to say that it needed to go steer by wire anyways. I'm not sure what you really gain from that from a driver's perspective. Do you want your car to hail itself to you from the mall? Sure, okay, that's great. But a lot of manufacturers have done that without getting rid of the steering shaft. You can still do that with an electric steering rack. So I'm not sure what Infiniti's trying to achieve. It feels more like an engineering exercise than a purposeful need. The chassis feels incredibly rigid. It feels very, very stiff to the point that if this thing had stiffer dampers and shocks and springs, it could make use of it. I don't think it needs to. It's the right configuration for this car. It's right where it needs to be. But it could definitely, the chassis can take more. Well, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, let us know below in the comments. If you are shopping for a premium sports coupe, what are you looking at? What did you end up with? Let us know below in the comments. Whoa, that's loud!